It's time for munching and mating in the Macrocystis, or giant kelp, with your host, Dr. Bill Bushing. One of the best things about my job is that when I go to the office, I don't have to wear a tie with my suit. Wetsuit, that is.
In today's episode, we will look at several species of barracuda. Only the California or Pacific barracuda and the Mexican barracuda are seen in California waters. Barracuda belong to the family Sphaeranidae, which has only a single genus with some 20 species worldwide. These fish are often very important ecologically, serving as top predators in many tropical environments. The only one commonly seen in California waters is the Pacific or California barracuda, Sphaerania argentea. The genus name reportedly means either pike or hammerfish, while the species name is Latin for silvery. Other common names include the silver barracuda, berries, snakes, scoot, and scooter. The latter is not to be confused with Scooter, the karaoke DJ at El Galleon on Catalina Island. According to Dr. Milton Love, it is difficult to confuse the California barracuda with any other fish. However, I've seen divers confuse a giant sea bass for a large shark, so I'm not so sure. These long, slender fish have a body that is almost round in cross-section. Body scales are small. Their backs are often brown or iridescent blue in color, while the silver sides are responsible for their species name. There is a thin, dark, lateral line running the length of the fish. There may also be a series of faint oblique bars above it. The two small dorsal fins are widely separated. The barracuda's tail is forked and yellow in color. Some scientists state the males have yellow pelvic and anal fins, while those of the female have a charcoal black edge. Others claim the anal fins of males are tan to gray, but the females are black. Barracuda generally have large eyes, which are important in hunting food. The long mouth has a lower jaw that juts slightly forward, and there are numerous large canine teeth in the jaws. They will pump their jaws to circulate oxygen-rich water over their gills. Although the largest California barracuda taken were about 4 feet, or 1.2 meters, ones up to 5 feet have been reported. Such large ones are rare today, and ones greater than 3 feet, or about 1 meter, are seldom seen. A 1-year-old juvenile is about 14 inches, or 0.4 meters. By the age of 4 to 5 years, they may be 28 inches, 0.7 meters, and by 11 years they reach about 41 inches, or a little over 1 meter. Today's fish rarely weigh more than 10 pounds, or 4.5 kilograms, but in years past there were reports of them being as much as 18 or even 26 pounds. Females are generally larger than males of the same age class. The lifespan is uncertain, but is believed to be about 12 to 14 years. For many years, this was the only barracuda found along the Pacific coast of North America, ranging commonly from Point Conception to the southern tip of Baja California and into the southern Gulf of California below Loreto on the Baja coast. Although rare north of Southern California, they are occasionally seen as far north as Kodiak Island and Prince William Sound, Alaska, during warm years. Some reports place them as far south as Panama. These fish make well-defined migrations north from Baja into southern California during late spring and summer as the waters here warm up. The return to southern waters in late fall is less certain, and some fish may overwinter in southern California waters. Adults and older juveniles are generally found in nearshore waters in the vicinity of kelp or rocky reefs. They usually swim near the water's surface and are most common above 60 feet or 18 meters, but have been taken down to 120 feet or 37 meters. Young barracuda are often seen in protected bays, lagoons, and marinas, or along the surf line and under the kelp canopy. It is said that the young normally travel in schools, but that adults are solitary. However, I have seen a number of small schools of adults, as well as some incredibly large ones. Male California barracuda mature in their second year, and females by the third year. Spawning occurs from April to September, and possibly as late as November, with a peak from May through July. Individual fish most likely spawn more than once each season. Berries spawn near shore, and few larvae are found further offshore than 30 miles or 19 kilometers. The highest concentrations of larvae found in the plankton are between Punta Eugenia and Cabo San Lazaro in southern Baja. I was filming in the dive park one day when off in the distance I noticed what I thought was a huge school of baitfish. I swam toward it with my eye glued to the viewfinder. As I closed in and my subject came into focus, I realized it was a huge school of barracuda instead. My buddy and I estimated it at about 500 fish. I've never seen a school like this before and could only guess that they might be gathering to spawn. When barracuda females first reach sexual maturity, they may produce only 50,000 eggs. A 6 to 7-year-old may release 300 to 400,000 each season, while those around 3 feet in length may contain over 500,000 eggs. The eggs are fertilized externally and become pelagic, drifting in the currents. The young come ashore after hatching. Our barracuda are voracious hunters. Prey species include anchovies, sardines, young Pacific mackerel and jack mackerel, grunion, and even squid. Note how these baitfish disperse or polarize when a berry approaches. The berries use their very acute eyesight to locate prey and will move towards bursts of light or sudden movements. They may move slowly at first, then swim rapidly towards their prey and take a bite by snapping their jaws. Barracuda have been clocked at a speed of 27 miles per hour. Hopefully that wasn't in a school zone. Get it? In murky waters, they may attack what they believe to be potential prey before they actually identify it. However, California barracuda do not bother humans. When several hunt together, the group may herd their prey towards shallow water where they become trapped. Least terns and bald eagles are their primary predators. California barracuda are a popular sport fish taken from party boats, private vessels, jetties, and piers. Dr. Milton Love reports that during the 1957 to 58 El Nino, they were so abundant off Southern California that it was difficult to catch anything else. It is suggested that anglers used lures with single rather than treble hooks to reduce injuries to the fish's mouths. This fish was trailing something behind it. I could only guess that it might be shredded bait on a fishing line. Due to the barracuda's schooling behavior, purse seiners targeted them heavily in the 1900s. Berries were later taken by commercial fishers using gill nets and trolling with hook and line. They were once a very popular food fish, and I have been told stories by longtime Catalina angler Bill Hill about the barracuda he used to catch in the 1920s and 1930s for the local seafood market. Many people liked barracuda eggs, comparing them to shadbrow. Demand for this species has decreased dramatically in the past few decades, and the fishery today is quite small. In part, this may have been due to a serious decline in barracuda populations until the early 1940s. The numbers in Southern California have rebounded to near-record levels thanks to regulations imposed earlier by the California Department of Fish and Game. Until the 1997-98 El Nino, there were no records of other species of barracuda in Southern California. During that event, the Mexican barracuda, Sphaerena was first recorded here, initially off Oceanside, and then additional sightings of several off La Jolla. Normally this tropical species is not even found on the Pacific coast of Baja. Its normal distribution is from La Paz to Cabo San Lucas on the inner Baja coast, and from Guaymas on the mainland coast, south to Guatemala and reportedly Chile. One can distinguish the Mexican from the California barracuda by the dark markings on the body, including a pronounced lateral line and a series of bars or chevrons along its side. The tail or caudal fin is gray rather than yellow. The Mexican barracuda's pelvic fin is underneath or slightly anterior to the rear tip of the pectoral fin. This species reaches a maximum length of 4.5 to 5 feet, or about 1.5 meters. Although they are normally about 12 to 15 pounds, 5.5 to 7 kilograms, the International Game Fishing Association record is 33.6 pounds, or just over 15 kilos. Mexican barracuda are found to depths of about 50 feet, generally in and around reefs. The ones filmed here were around the wreck of the Fong Ming off La Paz, Mexico. The last species found in California is the Plymouth barracuda. It formerly frequented freeway habitats on the mainland, but has now greatly declined in number. It undoubtedly has hurt more humans than any other species of barracuda. When most people think barracuda, they think of this species, the great barracuda, Sphaerena barracuda. This fish may be found in tropical and subtropical regions around the world. They are common in the Caribbean, where most of this footage was shot, the Gulf of Mexico, and from Florida to as far north as Massachusetts, along the U.S. eastern seaboard. They also extend south to Brazil, not to mention the eastern Atlantic, along the African coast, the Red Sea, and from the east coast of Africa through Micronesia to Hawaii. However, they are rarer absent from the eastern Pacific due to the colder waters here. The great barracuda usually has scattered dark blotches along the lower portion of its silvery sides and may darken in color to display bands. Juveniles can alter their coloration and pattern to match their surroundings. Like other species, the tail is forked. This species may reach lengths in excess of 6 feet, or 1.8 meters, and weigh up to 110 pounds, or 50 kilos. The record on hook and line is 5.5 feet, or 1.7 meters, and just under 100 pounds, or 44 kilos. They may live at least 14 years. Great barracuda are normally diurnal, that is, active during the day. Although generally a solitary species, they may also be found in small aggregations. They commonly occur around nearshore coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves, but may also be seen at or near the surface in the open ocean. Their maximum depth seems to be over 300 feet or 100 meters. The great barracuda feeds on fishes including jacks, grunts, snappers, grouper, small tuna, and baitfish, as well as cephalopods, and occasionally crustaceans, including shrimp. They locate their prey by sight during daylight. They can chop even large fish in half with their massive jaws. It is said that when a large one is full, it may force prey into shallow water, where it can guard it until hunger returns. The top speed for this species is reported at 36 miles per hour, or 58 kilometers per hour, much faster than my golf cart. Its fast speed and large size mean there are few predators fast enough or big enough to eat them. Sharks, large tuna, and Goliath groupers will take small adults. The great barracuda is often taken for food. However, one should exercise caution since eating it may lead to ciguatera poisoning. Small dinoflagellates produce toxins that accumulate in reef fish in the tropics and subtropics. These tiny photosynthetic organisms may attach to algae, which is then eaten by herbivorous fish. Predators like the barracuda then biomagnify the toxins, accumulating them in their tissues in higher concentrations. The toxin has both gastrointestinal symptoms, such as diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea, and neurological ones, including headaches, muscle aches, and numbness. Eating other fish, including triggerfish, morays, parrotfish, snapper, and amberjack, may also involve ciguatera poisoning. Spawning in this species may occur out in open water, with eggs released, fertilized externally, and carried off by currents. The larvae that hatch settle in vegetated areas in shallow water estuaries. At a little over 1 inch or 3 centimeters, they move out into more open water, and at about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, they leave the estuary and enter seagrass beds or mangroves. During their second year, the juveniles move out to reef habitats in deeper water. This species has a largely unearned reputation of being dangerous to humans. Their large teeth, and the fact they open and close their mouth to breathe, makes them look far more menacing than they are. However, they rarely attack us unless provoked, or the human is spearfishing or trying to feed the barracuda. So now you know that the barracuda's fierce reputation is really undeserved. at least in my experience with the species I've dived with. The rather shy California or Pacific barracuda encountered in Southern California are nothing to be concerned about, as long as you aren't a jack mackerel or a sardine. Mexican barracuda recently entered our waters, but may disappear during cooler periods. Just be careful of the Plymouth barracuda when you are driving the Los Angeles freeways, and you'll be fine.